Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I was very excited in the beginning, but you had this great talk again and great chat. So now I feel better. Actually, let me give a little bit about, get a little bit information about myself. I'm a chemical engineer. I'm 43 years old. I'm a single dad. And I have started Latro journey, let's say 11, 12 years ago. So this journey started at that time. And I was working for another company, 8, 9 years as a professional level. So from the day probably I born, I was always kind of a rebel to the system. So I never liked the concept of hierarchy in my whole life. And when I was working in a company or in school or in families, I was kind of not liking the titles, the positions, or the hierarchical statements, and it just never fit with me. Then probably when I founded my own company, it was the biggest question how to make the organization in my, as I being founder of that new organization, I was a little bit asking this question to not to go with the way of everybody else is doing, the hierarchical way. So that's probably the biggest question of myself, looking for this an alternative solution. So it's all started from that, Dean. Yeah, that's probably a little bit of the reason why I was always looking for some alternative way of for the organizations.
Can I feel like I have a question about that a little bit, which is, and I mean, I don't know if it's going to be too self-reflective to put you on the spot, but I mean, I feel like that might be a theme for all of us, is that, we all, I remember when I must have been like 20 and I was in a bureaucratic organization. And I remember at one point I kicked a filing cabinet really hard. It was how I knew I had to leave. But I kicked a filing cabinet because it was like someone made a decision way up the line and I was the expert. And it was really frustrating to me that they made a decision over me. So do you know when you said that hierarchy at school and everything never really worked for you, do you know what it was about you that because that's early to oppose hierarchy and not like that, right?
Yeah. I can't call it hierarchy today, but probably at those days, I wouldn't say it's a hierarchy as a word. But what I didn't like is, as you were saying, someone is, making decisions and without asking to others, let's say, let's put it that way. And you need to report someone. Like when I first started my job, I was reporting many of the people. So I just didn't like that I was reporting to them and they were deciding everything else while I am doing it. So that was the point that I was thinking that it's not correct. And probably more than that, I was always believing in the power of the collective mind. So the power of the togetherness. So in those days, it started like a little bit disrupting me, that those stress or those negative energy put me down, that didn't let me to do my own business, to do my own job. So I just never happy. I was never happy in that hierarchical system. So when I was searching for this, let me start a little bit of the story, how I started. When I was searching for this, I came to find Agile, the Agile system, the Agile world. And I was looking for it. I was reading some books, and one of my very good friends, I was talking to him. But again, in that model, I looked for a little bit more. So he gave me this book, which changed my whole life, The Reinventing Organizations. As you know, the Frederick Laloux, it is probably the starting of all these organizations, the Teal organization. And when I read that book, it took me 6 months. I read every single page, like taking notes, and it just blew my mind. And I thought, like, I found it. I found the way, an alternative way of hierarchical systems, that it's possible. And I went back to him. His name is Mehmet. He's a very good friend. He's already also here. And I said, okay, let's start it. I really feel that I found it here. And it was not easy, because I have built my company over 20 years of my experience, and everything was running okay. I mean, we were going well with a good profit. And this change, deciding about this change, was not an easy decision, but it was me. I really wanted, because the hierarchy was never so high in the company, but still there was no any other structure. So when we started this journey, we didn't really call it holacracy or Teal organization or DAO. We just say it's a Latro way. It will be our own way. And the journey started, let's say, a year ago, or a little bit more than that. And it just, how to explain it, just gave this great free space to me, that I could express myself, that I could feel free, that I could, be my own self. And I will explain a little bit more later on, but when I found my own purpose, own inner purpose, everything started to, just become a lot better. I feel a lot happier. Everything just was great afterwards.
Okay, so this happiness comes obviously because when you say you fired the boss, I'm gathering that was you, or did you do a Game of Thrones kind of moment and fire somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So talk to me about that story. Like, it's like, how does that go, and how do you start the journey into self-management? With obviously the radical act of firing the boss.
Yeah. Okay. It's probably the very beginning. On the very beginning of the journey, I set myself that if it's gonna be a complete self-managed organization, I had to start my own, firing my own self. So I was the boss. I was the CEO of the company, and I had a room. So let's say my routine in the morning, I was coming to my parking lot, specially reserved for me, taking the elevator directly to my room, having this big boss room, coming into my desk, having the most comfortable chair of the whole office, and a big table, and I was working from there. Then what I did is I fired myself, because that would be the correct thing to do, and I left that room, that boss room. It became a meeting room, and from there I said to myself that I need to move as being an explorer with all others. By the way, we call the people in this ecosystem explorer. So I become as explorer together with them, to explore all the world or everything together with them, instead of being boss in the room. So I fired him. I actually freed him. I always say that I freed myself in the beginning of this journey. And right now in the company, there is no hierarchy, no management, no positions or titles, including CEO or boss. It's complete self-management, with the autonomous teams making all the decisions and running the company as collectively, and making decisions collectively. So every morning, my new routine is coming to office, leaving my bag, getting my laptop, trying to find a place to work with all other people. And that's really helped me for, I love the word self-actualization. I did have my self-actualization when I freed myself. And when I leave that position or that title, that label, even more than that, then I found my own purpose, my own belief in the world, why I am existing, what I want. And it's from that point, I think I found that I want to be an example, an inspirational example in the world, that collectiveness or getting rid of the labels and all these positions, in that lead, you can win in every way, in financial way, in personal life way, and in everything. So that was probably the point that I had this self-actualization. And when I freed myself, when I had this free time, not being boss, not anymore deciding about everything, when I found my own purpose, this new idea came out. And now I'm not in Latro anymore. I don't do a lot of things there. And this idea of creating a decision-making tool come from inside. So now we are making a tool, a digital tool, for a collective decision, enabling the collective decision in the companies. Because I always, as I said, I always understand that my purpose is to make companies, not purpose, but my thinking is that if the companies become more democratic, means if the decision making goes down to everyone, then they will have more happy people, and for sure the decisions will be made a lot more effective and more correct way. So now we are working on this tool for the companies, digital tool for a decision-making, for their decision-making process.
And I just feel like it's a time to check, is that like nothing broke about Latro. You are actually perfectly successful. Are you more successful than you were before you fired yourself?
Yeah, that's difficult to say, but a lot more successful. You know, it's the exact sentences. I fired myself, and from that day, the company has grown twice on profit, and let's say 60-70% on revenue, and everything is everything is going great, because when we have this transformation to self-management, the power in the people has released the full power, the full potential. Let's say the full potential has released. The potential of creativeness, the potential of innovation has released. And when you bring the potential of innovation and the creativeness into as being the soul of the company, then the results came strongly, very strongly actually, after this transformation. So yes, it's a lot better. Latro is doing a lot better. And let me give you a little bit more information about how we are doing, what we are doing in Latro. It's a real purpose-driven company. So our purpose is to create new possibilities with extraordinary solutions. Means the heart of the company is being innovative, is being creative. And when you take out all these titles or hierarchy or positions, you give people freedom. And I think the creativeness comes from freedom. And with this creative mindset of the company, they had bring out amazing projects, different and very unique solutions to industry, and that gave also great outcome, that gave results, which I was explaining, all these results. So the whole company is focusing on the purpose and guiding by the values and protected by the principles. So it's very simple. Principles, 2 principles, 5 values, and a purpose is just holding us together and letting the whole company as moving towards the purpose.
So can I ask, I feel like I want to get into some of the specifics about, what's unique about, the Latro approach, but I do want to ask, so because you started as a chemical company, right? But now it sounds like your mindset is actually an innovation company. And can you show me with an example, if that's all right, about what the difference of like what you make or do now is as a result of that shift? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, can you explain? Yeah, can you?
Yeah. So I mean, so because you're in like sort of innovation, which means to me that you probably don't necessarily limit yourself to just chemicals anymore in the way that you probably used to. So is there something that you do now as a product or an outcome that wouldn't have been there under the way that Latro used to be?
Yes, but it's not. Let's say it's not about only being chemical or not chemical. It still can be chemicals, still can be processes. So in Latro, yes, this if we wouldn't have this mindset of the full freedom or the mindset of having no limits, we would these projects or this entrepreneurship soul will not released. So in the company, you feel the entrepreneurship between the people because they feel like they could do anything because it's complete autonomous teams. They can decide about anything. They have the power of a company, a micro enterprise can do. So they have the strategical decision making. They have the hire and fire. The teams can hire and fire. They have the full power on sales, on sales operations, on where to buy, the purchasing, what price to buy, what price to sell. So when you give them this opportunity of the full freedom as a team decision making, I think that allows them to be more innovative and creative. Plus one point that I should mention, I forgot to mention, that let's say during our journey, we at the beginning in the old Latro, we had KPIs, key performance indicators. And then during our journey, we said, okay, we need to move it to OKR, just to be sure that it's working better in agile world. And we realized it's not going well with our purpose because our purpose is to create new possibilities. So we need to move to people's mind, to experimental mind. So they need to do experiments, if it's called, if I'm mentioning the correct way. So we said, okay, even no more OKRs. So we removed KPIs, then we removed OKRs, and then we removed all the sales targets. And we removed all the performance indicators, any performance criteria. And we gave them a space that they can really be innovative, creative. They can have this experimental mindset. So without having any limitations or without having any carrots, they could think about an extraordinary way, a new way of doing what they are doing. So they could find new possibilities, unique solutions, which other companies cannot do. Because you are taking the negative stress of any sales target, any OKRs, any KPIs, any performance criteria. It was probably an amazing change in the whole mindset of the people. They relieved, they relaxed, and then they just tried to do unique solution. And it's very interesting when we had the KPIs and all the sales targets, because all my life, I've so much believed on the sales targets and KPIs and, following all these numbers, we will never be able to grow probably more than 15%, 20%. And when we removed all these targets or whatever those performance criteria are, we end up growing 100%. So it's so that, it's so interesting. The companies are trying to be more innovative. They create innovation teams, innovation tables, innovation meetings. But at the end, when you have these boundaries, it's not easy to be innovative. When you remove these boundaries, the mindset of the people is already very innovative.
So do you have something that a team created or did that had what was the thing that a team has done or created that most surprised you?
I mean, I've been surprised almost every day. Like just like a couple of days ago,
that must be a good feeling. That must be a good feeling, though, right?
I love this feeling. A couple of days ago, I was just attend to monthly financial meeting. Just to talk about what are our financials. We have a dashboard. How the things are going. And I was so much surprised. I was saying, what is this company? Who made these numbers? Who made this turnover? Who made this profit? It's like, as a result, I was already surprised because February was not an easy month, and one of our very strong teams had some issues in their industry. It's a market issue, but then the result was still great because some other team came up with a new idea and they made turnover from that new idea, which was never being expected. So yes, I am surprising a lot. And maybe again, coming back to this question, I surprised my own self because when I freed myself, when I gave up these positions and this being boss, with that mind, with that free mind, I came out with some new ideas according to my new purpose. And it was surprising for me because I wasn't expecting that. That's why that new startup came out. This Hoodle. I suggest you to look for it. This decision-making tool came out from this free space. So yes, every day you are surprised. You always feel surprising about what you hear on this very innovative mindset. And the innovation and creativeness also being supported by transparency. One another point. When we have this journey, one of the things was very important is to have a radical transparency. Because when I was talking about this freedom, this creative mindset, they decide everything. The teams have power, just like micro enterprises power. They can run a company power, but then you need to talk about the radical transparency. And when I say radical transparency, just think about it, that every explorer in the company, the whole ecosystem, can see our all financial numbers, any financial number, balance sheet, the costs, the profit, net profit, gross profit, any number that they can see. This is one point. And let's be more radical. We have transparent salaries, so everyone can see each other's salary. So the whole company, in every information, in every thing that we do, can be seen from anyone. And this is again a great support to this mindset, because then the people would have a psychological safety, that they feel that they are really a part of this. This allows them, and transparency is again a great probably thing to have also in order to give this mindset to these people, the support to this to all ecosystem.
Oh, that's so good. So, because I feel like I have two questions that are almost the same. Is because with some of my clients, I mean, I do this kind of consultancy work, and it's really interesting. At some point, almost the last line to cross is that someone has to, like the leader has to say how much I get paid, because it gets up to this point where it's like everybody can start setting their own, but if nobody knows how much that person is taking out, at some point that creates issues. So I feel like I have two things, which is that, how did you do that process? Like, how did you decide to pay yourself differently, or how did you make that transparent for you? And also, but then how does that journey start when you say, I'm firing myself? How did you start a process of actually turning that over to teams? What does that look like? Because I gather that must be scary for a bunch of people.
Yeah, I told you in the beginning, I was also scared. I mean, it's not easy for sure, because I also had the 10 years of work in Latro, and the things were not going bad. Actually, it was going well. We were having profits, so it wasn't came out from an urgency situation. I just thought this is an amazing way of manage of an organizational behavior. So yes, it wasn't easy first of all, and I was scared. And this transaction happened smoothly thanks to the team. Because I believe the people that I'm working with, they were also quite, I was also very lucky, because they were very much welcoming this new model. And when we start this journey, it wasn't so difficult to, giving up the power. By the way, I didn't empower anyone. This is very important, because this is not empowerment. I just killed the power. So when you kill that power, didn't give to anyone. When you did that, kill that power, the new one borns from the teams, and it's kind of easier, I guess, to empower people. I don't know if I can explain. Like empowerment is more difficult, because you need to choose people, you need to explain them, you need to give details, whatever. But no, it's not. Yeah, it's not empowering. You kill something, and you say, as being autonomous teams, guys, now you have the decision making. And for sure, during this journey, we called Explorer's Journey. We had given them some soft skills. We had some, advisors coming in, giving them how to manage collectively, how to become a team. This kind of things happened on the backside. But on the front side, what we just told them is, guys, these are the dashboard, no targets, no performance criteria. This is a dashboard. Let's make it better. The dashboard is just like in the car. It doesn't tell you what to do. It just tells you where you are. It's just a picture. So guys, this is the numbers. Let's do it better. And how are you going to do it better? Please talk each other. And if you need help, everybody is around here. We would love to, but just talk about it. Talk about how we can do it in a better way. And here's your guidance. We all together make the purpose, values, and principles. So it was our principles, purpose, and values that's holding us together. So nobody else is giving us these ones. Because in the beginning of this journey, couple of months, with all team, we had several sessions to discuss about what purpose Latro should have or already have. So the purposes and values and principles also didn't come from me or someone else. It was born from them. So it was their own purpose who will be the target for them. It was their own values who will guide them. And at the end of the probably couple of months, they were already in that at least emotions that they are running the company. They are deciding about almost everything, or not almost everything, but if they need to have any help or something that they can ask to someone else. So it become an ecosystem, not a company. So Latro is an ecosystem today, not a company. And we call the teams hubs, that these hubs working together as being a network of hubs.
So cool. And I just wanted to say to everyone, we are at the point where we can take questions and things as well. So I've been putting up the link to Menti in the chat. But if you also just want to post up questions in the chat, I'm happy to to take them forward as well. So I'm enjoying having this conversation. I don't mind at all. And I have just 1,000 questions that are my curiosity, but I'm also happy to pursue everyone else's curiosity as well. So I'm gathering you know the principles and values off the top of your head. Do you want to say what they are?
You mean the companies?
Yeah.
Okay, the two principles that we always say, it's kind of a peer-to-peer contract. So one of the principles is self-management, the collective management, we call it, by the way. The second one is the commitment. So why only two principles? There's only two principles holding us, because the one is collective management tells how to decide. So it says you make decisions with data and you put the transparency, full transparency on the process, decision-making process, and then you take the responsibility of that decision. So it's kind of tells that the decisions are being done collectively, not personally. So it's protecting us going back to hierarchical, behaviors. And the second one is the commitment. Simple. If you commit to something, make sure you know the value of a commitment. Try to do it, or at least, if you cannot do it, inform the person who's expecting it. So if you really understand the value of commitment, then you have a great relations between the teams, between the peer-to-peer person. So these are the two great principles that holding us together. And the values is, those are the guiding rules. Like one of the values being explorer. So it says we value the being explorer means that you keep searching for new opportunities, new possibilities, just like to our purpose, because our purpose is finding new possibilities with extraordinary solutions. And being expert is important, especially in our industry. So we value the expertise. So that's another one. The human-centric is, I think, in the heart of everything. It's a very humanized. We are trying to humanize almost all of our decisions. We put the human in the center. Wholeness is another value, which is again probably a lot related with the human, being human. The wholeness is the great in the book, in the Reinventing book. It's one of the great thing that Frederick Lilly was mentioning, and I think it's a very strongly happening in Latro, because wholeness is so much again related with the hierarchy. When you don't have any boss that you need to report, or when you don't have anybody that you need to command, then you just become yourself. So we call it be yourself. So everyone comes to the office, realizes there is no person in a higher position, in a higher or lower position than himself or herself, so he can express completely and freely himself. And by the way, in Latro, we don't have departments, we don't have HR. So not only positions, we don't have the departments or HR. We have teams. So he becomes a part of a team. So he's acting like a co-founder of a startup. So every 8-10 people makes a team, and this team works like a co-founders and like a micro enterprise, or let's say it's a startup. And just imagine, all startups have this great feeling in the beginning. You come to an office of a startup office with your co-founders, you enjoy, you become creative, you become innovative, because you don't have anything in your mind. You become yourself. So when you grow as a company, you forget about those powers. So in Latro, basically, what we are doing is we just go back to that, stage, having these teams working like a micro enterprises, working like a small startups, and so the people, they come, however they want. So we don't even talk about working from home, working from office work. I mean, we don't care about it. They're a startup. They're a bunch of a team. They can work do whatever they want, wherever they want, however they want. It's just simple. And nobody is going to tell them what to do. And I get a lot of this question. And before you're asking, let me start that. They're saying that, okay, who's controlling? I say nobody's controlling. Who's giving the final decision? I said nobody is giving the final decision. So they're saying, so in hierarchy, we're always trying to control everything. So they're saying, what about the expenses? So this is one of the questions that's coming to me a lot. What about the expenses? So everyone can do anything without having a final, let's say, confirmation. I said, yes, it's very simple. So how you can do it? It's transparency again. Transparency is an amazing power. So what we do is everybody can do any expense. They come to let's say, they can ask what they have expanded, and that money will be given to them without asking any question. There's no final confirmation. But there's a big but. Whatever they do, transparently open to everyone else. So all the expenses is being recorded, let's say, on a table, on a dashboard, and is transparent to everyone else. That's a crazy big pressure on the people. Can you imagine we are 55 people and one is making an expense of let's say, a champagne in a hotel, in his sales meeting, but no problem. It will be paid to him. Nobody's going to ask, but that's going to be written champagne from Dean in this hotel. It's $300 and 55 people are going to see it. So transparency. Yeah.
I think that people would like me enough to let me do that.
Yeah, I mean, if they like you enough, that means, no, that's a great example. If they like you enough and if they believe that you should do it, then it's correct. Then you should do it then. That's
I mean, because
correction.
What it seems clear to me is just how much trust. I mean, like the thing that is really sort of buzzing for me is the sort of interesting blend that you've managed to do between sort of experimentation and micro enterprise and things, but also the trust that gets embodied by particularly, the commitments principle and things as well, in terms of, when people are committing and they deliver, or at least, let people know, and so they follow through on their commitment, that builds trust, right? It's like, that person can be trusted. So in a way, you've got, like, it sounds like the Latro approach is about enabling micro enterprise and, like you said, that sort of startup buzz and that team feeling, while also sort of spiraling trust up in the whole place as well, and making sure that doesn't get. And so it was a bit tongue-in-cheek me saying about the champagne, but I mean, I can start to see what's so unique about Latro in terms of, what you've built and the unique elements that sort of flow through that make it work. I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I was mentioning about the salaries. It's the same. When you have transparent salaries, it's like one more time. That's a great trust. So there's kind of a let's say catalog of 3 catalogs, we say, depending on what they are doing and not the departments. And from there, they can see according to their years of experience and their graduate of university or whatever, they know where they located, and this transparency allows them to feel trusted, and they put a little bit pressure on each other, because it means the same experience level with the same school, let's say a graduate, same school means doesn't the name of the school, it's the level of the school, will have the same salary. So it puts them a little bit of a pressure. The high performer, let's say, will put a pressure on a low performer because they are getting the same salary. And the same thing from the low performer guy, that they would say, okay, I'm getting the same thing, I gotta do something. So it's kind of a trust and a little bit inside natural pressure, just like what is happening in nature, in just ecosystem. That small pressure, which is, I believe, it's a great positive stress, and I do believe the positive stress is good.
I have so many things that I want to ask. And I mean, there's also this great commentary. I don't know if you can see the chat, but there's this great commentary going on. You obviously have people in here from Latro and some of your consultants, and they're filling out a whole bunch of extra detail in the chat, which is actually fascinating and great, and I think really worthwhile to everybody in the room to actually, like your values are there. Like there's some interesting little I've got some direct messages about some developments in agriculture and food that are coming that seem like they're very secretive and awesome. So it's funny, there's a whole nother dialogue going on here around you, which is great. And it's clear how much everyone loves you and actually working there too, because like the enthusiasm and the passion there is phenomenal.
Let's go somewhere else, Dean. I mean, it's very important to talk about what we are doing in Latro is something that the whole world needs to think about it. Today, we are facing this, crazy and very sad war, in this part of the world, very nearby us in Turkey. And it is sad because we are still couldn't move as an humanity from me to us. We just couldn't move that. And because of so much centralized decision-making, governments and politics and companies, it's not only we always complain about the politics or governments is being so much centralized, the decisions are being so much centralized, and it's suffered by the people of that countries. But what we are doing is the same in the companies. So we should be realizing today, we got to change the companies in order to change the world. So if we have this hierarchy, if we have so much centralized management in the companies, what we are expecting, why we're expecting from governments or politics to be not centralized. So it got to start from us. So as being the big purpose of myself, as I was explaining, I just want to be one of the pioneers, one of the frontiers of this change, me to us, and of this change, the crowd, the wisdom of crowd. It was a great book, The Wisdom of Crowd. We got to find that thing immediately. We got to realize that thing immediately, and if we can realize that, then we will collectively manage, collectively decide. That's why when I have this purpose, when the Latro has this success out of this result, I said we need to do an inspirational growth. We need to be a great example to other companies that they will say, wow, let's think about this new organizational model. Let's decide together. Let's value our people more. Let's be human-centric. And when they do this decision, I am sure it will go all the way to the politics or governmental things or whatever it is. It will change the world. And our new startup that we are going to try is hopefully will help this change, because this will be a digital tool to encourage companies to do collective decisions. And maybe, who knows, in the future, it can be a tool for municipalities, for governments to do the collectively, to make the collective decisions instead of, centralized decisions.
So Mehmet had put the link to Hoodle up in the chat, so I've just put it up there again for everyone as well to check out at this point in time as well. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm sort of happy for anyone to keep posting up questions, or I'm just happy to. I still have 1,000 things I want to ask. Because I have thoughts about people who experience. Oh, sorry. Do you want to send them across into the chat, because I can't see them? So if you want to copy them across, Xian, I'll ask them. That's fine. I can't see them here at the moment. Because I mean, one of my fears is that, you know, in exposing people to self-managing organizations and them having a good experience, is that they'll find it very hard to go to another organization. And I mean, I think that's a sort of small fear when in the middle of talking about what you're talking about, which is that they will carry this with them and actually go and do other things and go and play some influence. So do you think that what you're doing is having an impact beyond Latro when your people go elsewhere? Do they leave very often? I'm not really sure what that dynamic is like.
I think yes, because right now what's happening is all of our meetings with customers, meetings with suppliers starts with our organizational model. And it's very interesting. Let's say if we have a 1 hour of meeting, all of our colleagues is saying the same thing. When they have a 1 hour meeting, 50 minutes of the meeting is talking about this. And last 10 minutes, they talk about the product or process, whatever the subject is. And I found it very fascinating because, again, I believe the people are so much ready for this transaction because out of that 50 minutes, last 10 minutes, they are talking about, okay, let us buy the product or let us give you the product, whatever. So it's easy. It makes easier the people's or a salesperson or whatever the job, because then they respect on Latro what is being done. So I believe this collective mindset, this collective approach is already in people's minds, because the universe, the world has given us the signals. During our conversation, Dean, if you remember, I was mentioning about one of the huge big problems in the world right now is climate change. Another one is, let's say, the viruses. Another one is the war. And all these big issues. Just think, the message is very simple. You can solve these problems only by collective approach, collective acting. You cannot solve them country by country. You cannot solve them continent by continent. If it cannot be solved in Australia, it won't be solved in Europe for sure, because it will come back. Or climate change, you cannot just solve it in one continent, climate change. So the universe is giving this message: be together, act collectively, decide collectively. In Latro, when we have this change, I think it inspires a lot of companies, and we have a lot of clues about the inspirational. I'm being invited by huge big holdings, like 100 times bigger than Latro, to talk to their C-levels about our journey, because they're wondering, they're looking for a solution of these things. And I believe this collective mindset, collective decision-making process, collective acting is gonna be the problem solver for the humanity, for the future of humanity.
I feel like my question is something like, are you worried that there's not as many people who are as brave as you are to actually give it away? Like, you fired yourself, and at some point you did that fairly radically. Like you said, you'd been going for 10 years. And I hope it's probably a reflection of like just where I'm at with the world at the moment. But you know, but like like you had to personally give that away to realize something else. And I mean, and in hindsight for you, that risk looks like barely a risk at all, because you know the journey has gone, you know, has gone well. And it's like I'm interested at what you think we can do to help others to take that brave step. And I'm literally having this with one of my clients at the moment, where I'm going to try and have a conversation that's similar on Monday about, you're trying to do some things, but you're in your own way. You know, what do we do about that? You know, so yeah, how do you think we help others to kind of take that collective step?
Yes, the first thing we can help is, as I say, inspirational growth. So Latro should be a good example. So I should say, and I'm already saying, by the way, I fired myself and the company is performing like 10 times better than before. So that should be the first of all, the inspirational growth, because yes, the people looks on the results. And secondly, it doesn't have to be, for my opinion, completely white and black. So even in the beginning, if he does, or if he or she doesn't have the courage to fire himself or herself, at least he starts the journey by, giving more power to people, less hierarchy, maybe no hierarchy, remove the bureaucracy as much as they can, run with the teams or manage with the teams. So at least he can or she can start the journey by decentralizing the acting and the decision making. That was the reason, again, hopefully this digital tool will help companies first start from the decision making process to be taken by collective, and then the next will come. And I believe when we have more examples of Latro, and we are having, I guess, can you imagine this Teal Around the World is being followed by thousands, I guess. That's a great start. That's an amazing start. And I do love to talk with any company about this. I love to being challenged. And I always go to company and I said, challenge me, ask your most difficult questions. Because I know they don't believe so much in this collective mindset. And when I say they don't believe, I believe they don't believe in their people's potential. So I'm just saying them, unlock your people's potential. The people are good. The people have a lot of potential. Just unlock them. Why you don't believe it? Unlock them. If you don't like it, just put it back. I don't know. Just unlock the people's potential. They don't even know if the group of people makes a decision, is it better or worse, because they never tried it. Just unlock it. Because the people have this amazing potential, and a group of people has more potential than the sum of individuals. That is in the book, it's called the wisdom of crowd. So the sum of one is less than the group whole potential. That's for sure, on decision making or on acting.
So I've got a question from, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name horribly, I'm sure, but Anshanj. And it says, were you worried about, because it sounds like it wasn't hard for you to trust your team is what I'm hearing, it wasn't hard for you to trust people. Did you have any instances in the start or anything where you actually got worried about sort of trust, or where people had trouble with that trust and, in firing yourself as a boss?
Let's say not firing as a boss. I didn't have a lot of trust issues, because again, I never believed on the hierarchy. So even before firing myself, the company was not so much hierarchical. So it wasn't that part. And yes, I was worried, and I really had issues sometimes when I see some teams are couldn't solve some of their problems. But I just needed a little bit patience, because as Haluk, as myself, I always say I can write a book of my success. This thick of a book, I can write the whole of my success. But I would never write a book about my fails, because it's too long, and I'm lazy. I don't write that much of a long book, because that book should be like this big and 10 of it. So the people are failing. So you gotta let them fail. So when you switch from being as a boss to self-manage or teams manage, you gotta understand they're gonna make some mistakes. They're gonna fail, because you failed 1,000 times as being person. Why they shouldn't? You just need to make sure that there is a dashboard. One of the very important things is transparency. Once again, the dashboard is there, so they know how much they are failing. You gotta make sure that they do small experiments before big fail. But all the small experiments, you make sure they fail. And then that they learn. So instead of one individual to fail and learn, you gotta make sure the teams fail and learn. And again, an individual fail and learn process values 1. Teams fail and learn process values 1,000, million.
Nice one. Sorry. We're completely out of time. That went so fast. And I have to apologize to everyone because I'm logged in to Menti room 2, which was our room. I looked and I posted up the Menti link for room 1. So if everyone was writing questions in there, Menti room 2 has looked empty to me. And I was like, oh, no one's posting questions in Menti. And it was my fault and I was completely wrong. So I have done Shen no service at all. I think she has been asking questions and I haven't seen them. So if that's the biggest mistake I make in the middle of all this, I can live with that because we're okay with mistakes. That's right. So, but that said, this isn't over actually. So we're out of time. But we're going on to continue this in the spatial chat. So when you move over to spatial chat, at spatial chat room 2 is what you're going to be looking for. So make sure you head into room 2, and you keep the conversation going. And Shen, I feel like your question will actually be really, if you're happy to head over there, I think Haluk will be totally happy to talk you through some of the specifics of the decision making and collective decision making over there if you wanted to come over, because I would love to have that conversation too. And I love that everyone is supporting me in my failure. That's really nice. So if we can all do hands up, if that's because everyone's on mute, if we can all do hands up as a huge thank you to Haluk. That was so good. And we'll go and continue the talk in spatial chat. So thanks so much, everyone.